Welcome back to Growthscapes Presents Contractor Truth, everybody, the podcast for contractors and today landscapers, service businesses, hardworking entrepreneurs trying to grow without losing their minds in the process. No fancy bumper music as usual, just real conversations, no fake guru nonsense or anything like that. I am John, also known as the Contractor Growth Guy. And today we've got a guest joining us from the West Coast of the United States, all the way from Oregon City, Oregon. I'm sitting down with Matt Bowman, founder of Sage Landscapes. Sage Landscapes is a design and build landscaping company focused on creating high quality outdoor living spaces. Patios, retaining walls, full outdoor living spaces, landscape transformations. Matt and his team have built a great reputation there through quality work, customer experience, and relationships. Matt himself has an interesting background. Got an education background, landscaping, greenhouse work, organic farming, permaculture, and even ecological design. So, a lot of what he's learned over the years have shaped the way he approaches both landscaping and business. So, a lot of today will be focused on the marketing side of things and running the business. So, in this episode, we're going to talk some real world contractor marketing, business growth, customer relationships, communication, lead generation, and what actually works, because that's what we're all about here. We realize that our listeners are on the ground, in the trenches every day. So we don't want to talk in theory. We don't want to talk textbook stuff. We want to talk the real world. So we get into the real realities of building a reputation in a smaller community, a lot of the lessons that Matt has learned growing Sage Landscapes, and some of the marketing strategies that actually help bring in quality customers as well. We're going to talk about some of the mistakes contractors make. I'm sure Matt has made one or two of those in his business life, as we all have, and why customer experience matters more than most people realize. So, and last but not least, we're going to talk a little bit about how businesses can compete without massive marketing and advertising budgets. So, anyway, whether you're a landscaper, a roofer, a renovator, painter, tradesperson, or just somebody trying to build a better business, grab a coffee, turn up the volume, and let's get into it. Matt, thanks for joining us today. We appreciate you being here on behalf of our audience. Thank you. So, we'll get into it here fairly quick. These are just kind of, I guess, I already know your background, and I've given a lot of that in the intro. Don't hesitate to share that as we, work through a few concepts and ideas. One of the things that impressed me in our initial conversation was your relationship focused outreach and marketing, I guess, if you will. You're in a small community, correct?
Hey John, yeah, thanks for having me. Oregon City's pretty small, but we've got access to the Portland market, so that's a um, pretty sizable market there to tap into. But I am excited about the idea of like your immediate local town. Feels like you can have a really big impact in a smaller town.
Yeah, agreed. Agreed, absolutely. So you started this, you're the founder of the company. I've got that correct, right?
Yep.
What has been, let's talk about lead generation because I want to jump into some very practical things here. What has been your single biggest source of leads when you started your business? Like, talk to me about your maybe your first leads or where you've really found a great source for leads
Do you
over
want
the
to hit
years.
just the successes or all the failures
Yeah,
along the way?
no, we're
It's been
going
a
to talk about
bumpy
some
road.
hit some successes first. We don't want to lose everybody. Hit
Right
some
now,
successes first, and then we'll get into some failures too.
social media is by far my biggest source of leads, biggest source of just organic questions coming to me. It's all social media right now.
Okay. Did you start now? What year did you start your company?
I started 2015, I think.
Okay, so social media was a very advanced thing. I go back to the years. I was telling someone today that I ran a marketing company before social media was a thing. We can hardly remember. I remember where I was when a client told me about Facebook. I'd never heard of it. It
Oh
was
yeah,
fun.
well yeah, first job's going by the paper maps to get to your
Yeah, I
job.
know.
Like
I
that's
remember that.
yeah, everything's changed.
What a world, eh? So social media. Now, I always tell people, and obviously you're a pretty good relationship builder. You've built quite a business, and you don't do that without relationships. Talk a little bit about the I guess the overlap of word of mouth and social media, how that has worked for you.
Right. So word of mouth was how we went from $0 to about 800,000 a year
That is
was
impressive. Yeah.
zero advertising budget. I was mowing lawns, talking to those people. What can I sell them into? Who do they know? So I spent nothing. And when I switched to then thinking about paying for leads, I knew there was a plateau there. So
Yeah.
I'd have to do something to get past that. And I tried all the platforms. I don't really like those pay to play lead, the Yelps and Thumbtacks. We really got beat up by those kind of platforms. So reaching people directly, I think, is a great way to go.
Yeah. All right. Um, Talk to me about why, like, you've obviously built some pretty good relationships. I've seen your work, right? And as someone who used to be a landscape contractor myself, I know what to look for. You've obviously built some really good relationships that have fed you. Talk about why relationship selling in small business is so incredibly important.
Yeah, it's like what do they say? Like your first customer paves the way for your next 100, basically. And
Yeah,
I just feel like I've got a few people who are really advocates for us, and part of that's just because we really spent the time with them on the design. We went extra to make sure, we had the foundation, anything we put in, we did a little bit extra so we knew it was going to last. And then when we get a call, hey, like our poly sand's blowing out of this, could you come redo the poly sand a few years on? Like we're still going back and we still have a relationship with those people. And oh, I just told my brother about you. I just told my friend about you, and kind of staying um, in their mind a little bit, checking in once a year. I think that helps a lot.
do you ever get like, do you have a lot of those people? Are they social media savvy people getting back to social media?
Not necessarily.
Like,
Yeah,
like
those people,
any of
it's
those become, we had one years ago. I'll never forget. We built a porch for her, and it was one of those old enclosed porch, an old craftsman house. They
hmm
wanted it closed in. We couldn't post anything on social media, and it went out to all her friends. It didn't matter what it was.
ha. Yeah, I do actually we just went and filmed a video and somebody said, anytime come by, light a fire in the fireplace. And she said, I'll film the videos for you. She said,
Oh,
if you
really?
for
Wow.
free. She's like, I'll get my phone out and film anytime you want.
Yeah.
So, and
Well,
she's on there liking all our stuff,
and
which is
social
great.
media gives so many opportunities for those types of interactions that are fun for people too. Some people are really
Right?
against it, but when you get someone who's live like that, it just you can just fuel that fire word of mouth, you
Oh,
know?
exactly. And then you can push and be creative. Well, you want to film? How about you sit down and pretend like you're having a meal out on the patio or something? Like that's a cool avenue instead of just the testimonial video. What else? Kind of showing the lifestyle that people are after.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a lot of it. Like it's one of the things I talk about quite a bit is, and you're saying this without saying it, so I'll bring it out. A lot of it comes down to how you make your customers feel. It's not
Mm,
just the end product. It's how do they feel when they were with you. And I think you probably agree that's such a key to getting those referrals.
yep.
Um, so talk to me about you mentioned some failures. Let's talk about failures, like marketing tactics perhaps that were a complete blowing it, like you might as well flush your money down the toilet or whatever. We've all had those.
Yeah.
What are some of your big, maybe not even in that area. Maybe you've never had a failure in that area, but talk about a failure or two and how you recovered and what you learned.
Well, I guess just your metric is how much money are you putting in and is it worth it on the other side?
Yeah,
And to me, all those sort of what are they? It's like you're bidding for, it's a job that gets sent out to 10 other contractors,
yeah,
and you're one of those 10. That one never felt good. It felt like the people that were there, well, just give me the price. Well, what is it gonna be? Just tell me over the phone. It was like
Yeah.
you were just in this bucket of other people who were hungry to get a job, anything to put on the schedule, and it just did not feel like we were getting the customers we wanted. And those were kind of those Angie's List thumbtack things. But then I've also heard people who really commit to that one avenue, and that's where all their business comes from. So I think experiment a little bit, Google, Meta, and see what works. And then anything that works, just go
Well,
full on into it.
my thinking with those types of lead generation is it's really hard to sell the value of the type of work that you do specifically through that kind of a medium, right?
Right.
I always found like we used to have one here. I don't know if it's in the States or not. It was called bark.com, but it wasn't really a bidding thing. What would happen is you would say, this is the type of work we do. And then you would have to pay so many credits for each lead. And we actually sold some
Right.
work through
Right.
it, right? But I did also find that that was almost always a bottom feeder part of the market. And you were always, it's a very price conscious market. That's why they go
Yeah.
there, right?
Which, if you're a volume, I've heard there's a company even near me and they're volume based. It's all about how many square feet of patio and it's pavers. You choose between one or two types and you just do tons of volume and you compete on price. That was just never my trajectory. So maybe there's a business model out there of somebody who's watching where one of those services could be perfect. But
Yeah.
for us, we were trying to do something that's that extra little detail, something artistic, unique that you just can't buy off the shelf and those types of platforms just didn't serve us.
Right. Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think you do have to know, and this goes, Matt, you're a guy who knows your positioning in the market, right? And I'll just highlight that for a minute because that's something I talk to contractors, as you know, every single day. And you'd be amazed how many contractors or service business owners, they don't know what they're selling, right? They don't understand where they fit in the market. Because you're right, you've hit a great point. We may have people in the audience right now, and your business model is volume, then go for it. But know your position. And as long as you know that, you're going to go after it a different way than you are, Matt, right? And
Mhm.
different than the way I went after it when I was in it. What would you say? Now, you're a smaller contractor. How many employees, roughly?
We have six plus myself,
Okay.
and we've
So,
got a couple open positions where we're trying to grow just a little bit, just to fill up the seats in the trucks we have, hit
yeah.
our true capacity this year, and be able to do
How many
as much
trucks?
as possible. We've got a big four-seater dump truck, and then we've got a regular F-350, and then I've got my little estimate rig. So we're doing all this out of two trucks basically,
Yeah.
and we're just with what's booked now, we're on track pushing up into the 1.7 kind of territory, getting close to 2 million a year, which if
Matt,
we could do it out of two trucks, that would be incredible.
for people listening who don't know landscaping, that is a very respectable, that's more than a respectable number. You guys are listening to a success story. Don't make any mistake about it. It is very difficult to get to those numbers with seven people on a team. So that tells me a couple things. I think you're pricing stuff well based on those numbers, and I think you're probably being profitable, right? It's not really a topic that we plan to discuss, but I do think, it's important, obviously, to know that. Um, Talk about being a small contractor. In your view, now you've been at this a few years, 11 years or so. What is one thing, or maybe more than one thing, that small contractors often get wrong, in your view?
Let's see. There's still delegation and boundaries between tasks. It's really easy to take everything on. And I
Mm,
think it's something that at our size is tricky because it's like you don't have a full-time position for even admin hardly. You
right.
don't have a full-time position for sales. You don't have a full-time position for project manager, but somebody's got to do it. So I think
Matt,
having
Matt gets
some
to do it, right?
yeah, exactly. But having questions around that, if somebody's taken over a piece of that, how much is it? Where does that responsibility end? Because I think what I hated about working for big companies, it was so bureaucratic and you had 5 pages of legal language on any little decision you
Right.
made. and there's a board who's involved who aren't contractors at all. They're just money people. And that stuff just wasn't fun. I wanted to be doing the fun stuff. So there's somewhere between informal, swing from, kind of shoot from the hip to
Yeah.
formal. Somewhere on that spectrum is a successful, profitable business that's still fun to work in.
And you've hit on something so important, and I never, I know I'm going back to my experience a lot here just because, again, I ran a landscape contracting company, so I identify with a lot of what you're saying. It's more real to me than if you were a plumber, that's for sure. Um, that was one of the things that I struggled with at times was there were certain parts of the business I absolutely loved, and because I loved it, I was good at it. Like sales, I love sales. I
Hmm.
love marketing. But man, if I had to talk to the bookkeeper or the accountant, like I just put that off forever, right? And it was one of
Right.
those things. Actually talking to a guy today who manufactures entryway doors, and he does all his own selling, but he's looking at changing that. And I always dreaded the day when I would have to give up sales because I was too busy to do it,
Yeah.
right? And I think too, for a lot of our contractor audience, like never lose the enjoyment of why you started this in the first place, right?
Yeah.
Don't miss out on that. But the balance, I think what you're highlighting here is the tricky balance of small business. You're wearing a lot of hats, and some hats you don't want to wear. Some hats
Yeah.
you're not even good at wearing, right? But they have to be done. And, I mean, talk a little bit. You have a pretty solid staff, or is there a lot of turnover in your staff?
Everybody's been with me since day one. We haven't
Wow.
turned a, it's been, yeah, we've built a real, I mean, people say that in the corporate world, like a family, but yeah, we have a blast. We've been working with the same guys. We prioritize attitude over experience. We come home, play foosball at the end of the day. It's just, I feel so lucky to work with the
Oh,
people I work
Matt,
with all across
let's
the board.
let's explore this a bit. We obviously create an environment they're happy to be working in, right? What other
Yeah.
things have you done? Because, man, I'm telling you, staffing is a big thing. What other
Yeah.
things have you done to get that kind of retention?
I probably pay like $10 more an hour than most companies, so
That usually
that'll do
works.
it. But
Yep,
if you want the best, you got to pay for the best, and that's why I mean, it ends up on the customer end. But I realized I didn't want to be working where I had to go pick the guy up from his house because he couldn't afford to repair his car to come to work and stuff like
yep,
that. All that nonsense
yep,
disappeared the day that we had enough cash to pay well.
yep. Good for you. Well, I think that's a secret that, and it goes back to what I was saying earlier. You're obviously making money, right? Because you couldn't pay people that well if you weren't.
Well,
And
it's a sacrifice on my end. So I'm not a homeowner. Through these seasons of change in the business, I've insulated that where the most important thing is that the guys are getting paid
yeah,
and paid well. So if yeah, we've run years in a deficit and I've made mistakes, but I've always tried to maintain that it's the crew that's the most important thing because without them, there's no point coming to work.
yeah, yeah.
To
Good for you.
rebuild that side of things would be so challenging to start from zero.
Yeah. No, good for you. I mean, that's a huge part of it because, it goes back to if you don't have the right staff, you're not going to be able to produce the right result, which means you're not going to get that
Right.
word of mouth. So we're right back to where we were at the beginning. Those
Right.
relationships are going to suffer as a result. And everything is so, in our business, everything is so tied together. Like you have to fire on
Yeah.
all cylinders and all fronts. So we've talked about a little bit about marketing. We've talked a little bit about human resources. We've talked a little bit about relationships. Obviously, and I think I'm just going to say this because you obviously know how to have good relationships with customers and staff, and that that is so critically important to any business. But let's talk a little bit about customer service. You mentioned going back to Phil Polly sand in, which I think is that's an extra, that's a bonus. Most landscapers I have ever met wouldn't do that without charging for it, right? Because that's natural wear and tear. It happens, right?
Yeah. And some
Um,
of that stuff we do charge for, but just the fact that they ask, we're there.
Yeah.
they feel like, all right, we're taken care of. We're not gouging them because it's our busy season. It's
Yeah.
I'll go on a Saturday and pull it off and
Yeah.
uh, that kind of stuff.
Well, talk to me about, you know, things like follow-up communication during the jobs, the importance of that and how you prioritize that, because obviously you have.
Yeah, that's really important, and I that's an area that we could even grow into for sure.
Yeah.
Um, so what I'm thinking about now are like maintenance sheets, branded. If they get a patio, how to take care of it, what are your options if you're going to add a sealer, stuff like that, where I hand them a physical packet.
Yeah.
Um, Same with if we install grass, how many days a week should you water? How long should that water go
Yeah.
on? And sort of your maintenance routines for everything we install, because we're not maintenance people, so we want to make sure that they're getting the right information so they can find somebody who can take care of it.
Yeah. I think that's no, that's actually a really good idea. Now, let me ask you this. You're not on the tools anymore. I take it you're working more on the business than in it per se. I mean, you're not out laying paper stones anymore.
This year,
Hopefully.
I'm not at all. Last year, I was maybe 50-50 or a little more leaning on the sales project management side.
Yeah.
So now I'm more like if we need a tool or something, we'll bring like today I brought a roller compactor. We're trying out another company lent us theirs because I'm thinking about buying one when we're doing more open graded base. It's a really specific tool. It's like 4,500 bucks, and I didn't
Yeah.
want to just buy one after not trying it. So
Yeah.
I went and picked that up and brought it over to the guys so they could get the poly sand installed on that patio. So just getting the tools and materials in front of the guys and then focusing on the client side and keeping the pipeline full.
Well, I think that's a real jump. Like, so this year must be very different for you because I know that jumping from working in the business, meaning being on the tools on a daily basis, to working on the business.
Yeah,
And it's a critical point that you don't go there too soon, right?
right.
And but you don't want to go there too late either, because what I used to find was
Mm-hmm.
I almost always worked on the business rather than in it. I would say for the first 4 years I worked in it, but I worked in it probably 75 to 80% of the time.
Yeah.
And then when I brought a partner on, when my partner came on, he said, John, you shouldn't be on the tools at all, right? First of all, you're in terrible shape, which was true. He said, and you're too valuable at selling and that kind of thing. So of course, I was only too happy to hear that, and I've only gotten in worse shape since then, obviously. Anyway,
That's what the guys told me. I was like lifting something up the other day. They're like, no, we've got to protect the Mina de Oro, the gold
yeah,
mine.
yeah, exactly.
Because if I go down, the whole thing's gonna go down.
Well, but it's such a critical thing because I used to hear people say this all the time. Say, you're the first person who's called us back on this. We've called three other contractors, and they never called us. And I used to say,
I
well,
hear
it's
that a
not their
lot.
fault. They're working 10 hours, 12 hours a day out in the hot sun. They come home, they got a list of calls to make. It's 8 o'clock at night. They get supper. They think, oh shoot, it's 9:30 now. I think
Now
it's
it's
too
too
late to
late.
call these
Right,
people back.
right.
And then a week later, they're going, oh, I'm embarrassed to talk to them now, right?
That you're
And
describing
plus,
my life from 3 years ago. That's crazy. I had that exact thought process. Get home sweating bullets at 6. You eat something, you're shaking, dehydrated.
I know.
By the time you mellow out, it's 7:38, and you're like, geez, I'm not calling this,
Well, it
this
hurts you.
retired
It
person.
hurts
And
your reputation in the end, but it's an and I used to try and cover for those contractors because I even though they were my competition, I'd say, hey, that it's just a different structure of business, right? Um,
yeah, it's the season of business. That's like yeah, it's a different challenge every year and kind of a slightly different structure as you grow and change, and
yeah,
that's a season of the business.
yeah.
It's not necessarily bad. People pull it off, but
So
it's
so
tough.
what do you think separates time? So you've gone from being stuck in that to now growing out of that.
Yeah.
A lot of contractors never grow out of that. They stay stuck forever, right? What do you think the secret is, or what separates contractors who stay stuck versus those who grow out of that?
Yeah, it's back to delegation. It has to be. And the other thing I noticed when I stepped off the job site, I'd come back and I'd be kind of nitpicking small stuff. and the guys would say, "Hey, we've got this like we've made this whole chain of decisions, and you're coming in halfway, and I'm sort of undermining the authority of the foreman." So I
Yeah,
had to give up some of my specific things where it didn't matter if it was my way or the foreman's way. They were both gonna accomplish the same thing, but I just wanted it my way because I
right.
was used to doing it myself. So that
Yeah,
was something that I had to let go. So there's an ego piece around that, I'm
yeah,
sure,
yeah.
that once I let go back to the company culture thing, you're empowering, the foreman to step up into that.
I actually had a
The growth
female
moment there.
I had a female crew leader, and I always say female because I love females on the crew. I just they were fantastic. Their attention to detail more than us guys, and
Hmm.
I don't like to be gender stereotypical, but it's just what I found in my experience. But anyway, she was great. But she came to me one day and she says, "Can you please stop visiting the job sites?" And I said, why? Right? I wasn't crazy about doing it anyway. I was pretty busy, but I always felt like I gotta show up. I gotta. She goes, it kind of interrupts the flow because all of a sudden, she said, I was the boss and then you pulled up. And now I'm not the boss for the next half hour,
Right.
right? And she goes, it interrupts the flow. And you know what? I got that right away, and I hardly ever visited again, unless they needed me to bring something. Again, it was that, and I didn't have a problem with it because I wasn't the greatest foreman in the world. Um, she was far better than I was. And I think that's another thing too, right? Like you as a manager, and management was not my strong suit. But you should be happy to find someone who can do a particular role better than you, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Like,
Yeah.
I wish everybody in my company could do better than me?
Because the chances you're the best at every single role in the company, you're dreaming
Yeah.
if you think that's true.
And well, if you are, you're one very stressed out person too, because
Yeah.
you end up doing it all. And the danger is that you think you're the best at all those things. And so if you are the best at all those things, there's one thing you're not good at, and that is finding good talent.
Right.
You can
Exactly.
safely
Exactly.
say, right? So yeah, I mean, delegation, that's a very interesting thing. And I think you're right on about that, Matt. Um, it, a lot of us that are entrepreneurs, I think we're control freaks, right? And we have a hard
Hmm.
time letting go. It's our baby type thing.
Yeah.
Um, Talk to me, like you guys have everybody has a season in landscaping. When do you guys actually this is more shop talk now for our audience. They're going to tune out, but when do you start putting shovels in the ground? Are you April? You have to wait till May? Is it pretty wet in the spring? Like,
Yeah, we've worked in December, January, February, March. Our slow season is basically Christmas to say end of February,
okay.
where we're not comfortable doing retaining walls or anything with sloppy mud that you can't compact.
Yeah, so
But there's a lot of work you can do.
you got a pretty long season. How do you use the downtime, the slow season?
Yeah, typically, like the crew guys will go hang with their families or go down to Mexico or try to get some vacation time in. And for me, I'm normally kind of re-budgeting for the
Yeah,
year, kind of planning out how many days or how many hours in a year we have to even play with and putting a price on that per hour, per
right.
man,
Yeah,
uh, and woman.
yeah.
And getting that dialed in, and then yeah, thinking of creative stuff because it's the creative stuff that fires me up. So if I'm not on the tools picking which shape to put in a patio, I want to have something creative, and to me that outlet's been at least partially social media and marketing, and what can we do in town. We're
Yeah.
organizing some giveaways and stuff like that, just to get a little bit of attention and get our name out there in town.
I'm glad you said that because I do want to get to one question here. A lot of, especially a lot of new companies, in contractor world start off with like no marketing budget, right? And you were
Yep.
there. I was
Yep.
there. What if a contractor had almost no marketing budget? Where would you tell them to start?
Well, I'm basically running this experiment right now, actually. So I just bought a sandwich board that says I want to redesign your yard,
Yeah,
and I'm gonna go park it by myself in popular spots on the weekend.
really?
So I'm a hundred
That,
bucks. I'm 100 bucks in, right, on the sign.
yeah,
But if you don't have work, you've got time.
yeah.
So I figure if you talk to even 20 people, do you think you get 1 out of 20 to pay you? Probably.
So you're really so one of our big, and this cost a lot of money. Like it was a $3,000 or $4,000 weekend to go into a home show, a local home and garden show in the spring. You're
Yeah, yeah,
basically doing your own little home show where you're getting in front of people with this was what I always found hard. I could get in front of people, but how do I get in front of people with my service, right?
yeah.
That's a brilliant idea. We're gonna have to have you back on a future
Yeah, I'll see
episode.
if it works. I'll let you know. I might get beat up or arrested.
Well, I think there's worse sandwich boards you could put on in the
Yeah,
state of Oregon,
exactly,
probably,
exactly. Yeah, absolutely.
like
But
MAGA. No, 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 no politics. I just
yeah.
about went there, Matt.
But yeah, I'm curious to see because there's really busy spots and you can go in the neighborhood that you want to work in and put up your sign, and it won't cost you anything. I was actually part of a group. I suppose I could shout them out.
Yeah, sure.
Blue Collar Business Accelerator.
Yeah, okay.
And that was a program about building low budget tools to get more dollars in the door per year without
Yeah,
spending a ton on marketing. And a lot of the spirit of their stuff was you basically just need the attention.
yeah,
You need
yeah,
somebody to talk about you, somebody to tell their friend. So whether it's discount codes for friends and family of a project you just finished, or
yeah,
a thank you gift with like a discount on a landscape cleanup to boost recurring work, or whatever your strategy is.
yeah,
Every customer you deal with, try to spread that to two to three to four, even if it's the neighbors, or
yeah. Well,
just take what you're already doing and just try to get a little bit of spread from those nodes of contact.
that's one that we used to do. You guys have. This is going to sound really stupid. Is Vista Print just that's not a Canadian thing? Is that an American thing?
Oh, I just printed up a bunch of cards that I'm
Yeah,
giving to neighbors for
they're
our
fantastic. So let's give a shout out to Vista Print too. Okay, so here's a
yeah.
couple shout outs. Okay, blue collar. What did you say it was? Blue collar
Blue
marketing.
Collar Business Accelerator. I think
Okay,
they're in Michigan or
okay,
somewhere.
cool. Yeah, Vista Print. So I would get door hangers done, and they were dirt cheap. Like you get 500 for like $40 or something. Like it wasn't very much. And then what we would do is every job we did, we'd go to the 10 closest houses. We just did
Ooh,
a job
10's
in the
good. Yeah, I've
neighborhood.
been doing the two neighbors, but 10 is good. I like that.
Yeah, we went like I think two on either side. That's four, and then six across the street, right?
Yeah. What'd you
And
write on them?
well, I think ours was just, hey, we just did some work in your neighborhood, and I wanted to get risky, and I never did. So there were a couple things I wanted to do. We've started to beautify your neighborhood.
Ooh,
Um,
yeah.
we'd love to continue on your yard type thing, but you got to be
Yeah,
careful how you
yeah.
word that. Another one, I actually was on a, a consult, like a kind of a coaching call with a contractor, landscape contractor, very big, like a multi-million dollar metro. Was it Chicago or Detroit? I can't even remember now. Anyway, big city landscaping company, pool company too. So they were in the millions, right?
Oh, yeah.
And what I told him to do was, and I think he's going to do it, I got to follow up with him, was do a bit of a package for all the neighbors, thanking them for their patience with trucks on the street and dust and the mess and so on. And in that case, because he was doing projects that were starting at $250,000 a piece, I said, could you invest in $500 and put a gift card for each of the neighbors in it, right? Saying, hey, we're really sorry about the mess and the noise over the last few weeks, right? And we really appreciate your patience and understanding. And then give them a gift card to a nice local restaurant, right? As a
Yeah. And
thank you.
if you can do enough of that, if you've got a big reach,
Yeah,
it would behoove that local restaurant to give you a discount on those
sure.
gift cards.
Absolutely. And another way that can go is, a lot of people, depending, especially if it's a baby boomer neighborhood, right? They're going to call a couple friends and say, "Hey, you're not going to believe what just happened. Our neighbors are getting that new pool put in. Well, the contractor just gave us $100 gift card. Why don't we go out to, whatever restaurant, ristorante on Friday night. Let's go on a double date and like, we'll treat
Yeah.
you, whatever." And then think of the word of mouth that spreads from that, right?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I
But
think that's great.
he was in a prime position because, like I said, they were all six-figure backyards, right?
Right.
So he could build it into his budget to do that, you
But
know?
I do like that idea of instead of paying, just dumping that $100 into Google, because it can be more than that per lead on Google,
Oh
and
yeah,
you've had no impact locally besides your name flashing up in a search bar. But
yeah.
$100 spent in town, turn that into a coffee. How many coffees could you buy for $100? How
Oh,
many
I
people
know,
is that you've talked to
I
just
know.
standing at the coffee shop? It's
You know what
incredible.
here's what I used to do too. Every time I went to the drive-through, and I did that a lot, especially when I was out, running crews and everything, I'd be at the drive-through for breakfast because I didn't have time. So I'd grab my coffee at we have Tim Hortons. You have Tim Hortons in Oregon?
No, we don't have Timmy Hose, but I had that where I grew up. Yeah, I know what it's
So
like.
it was Tim Hortons. I'm not a big Tim Hortons fan. I'm more a McDonald's coffee guy. But every time I went through the drive-through, of course, I got my lettered up truck, right? And the person behind me, all they can see is my company name and phone number. So I would always pay for the order of the person behind me.
Yeah, that's good. That's
You know
good.
what? It was like 10, $12 a morning. And it was, hey, because you never knew where that was going to go on social media, right?
Yeah, that's
Hey,
the same thing. That's what I was gonna say. That reminds me a lot of social media. It's like you never know, just getting your name in front of somebody,
yeah,
what's gonna happen.
all you had to have was one person say, "You're never going to believe this. I was at McDonald's this morning and the guy from X company was in front of me and he paid for my order. Hey, shout out to, hire those guys." And it did
Yeah.
happen a couple times where that happened. And I got some good visibility from it.
And you're theoretically in the neighborhood you're working in. That's what I
Yeah,
started doing
right.
on social media. I would take drone photos of the local school or park and put
Yeah,
it in the B-roll. And I had people say, "Oh, you were just working by that park.
yeah,
I saw your video. You're working
yeah,
by me, by the park."
yeah,
And so that was like a tricky thing to add into the videos. I got to keep doing more of that
yeah.
where it really ground, oh, that's my neighborhood. I can see.
Yeah, there's so many great ideas. This is the thing. You and I could probably talk for hours. We should probably create a course on guerrilla marketing. When we were
Right?
we were selling hot tubs years ago, I got the idea I got 20, those bag signs like on the wire, like they're very cheap signs. Like I think
Hmm.
they were like less than $1 a piece with the wire frame. And so what I would do is I took my son, who was like 11 or 12 at the time. And we take these 20 signs and I'd go every weekend. I went to a different location where it was a high traffic location, lots of drive-by traffic. And I'd make sure it was I'd usually go late Friday night, sometimes after dark. And then I would be back Monday morning before the sun came up to take them out again so I could reuse them. And we would
Hmm.
put like 20 signs in a row on a boulevard on a busy road, right? Hot tubs. And it was just I'd be driving around the weekend and drive by and think, man, 20 signs right there. Boom. What did it cost me? Like 20, $30. But I can do it again next
And
weekend.
you
It doesn't
reuse it.
cost me anything.
Yeah.
It's free, right? So, all that stuff counts. I just talked to a roofer today, and a lot of his work has come from the fact that he likes doing rural work. And so he puts little signs on telephone poles on rural routes, right? And I went to
Yeah.
see him today. He was doing probably a 35, $40,000 steel roof on a house on the river, right? Minimum. No, it was probably more than that. It was steel. It was probably 60 or 70 grand. And sure enough, when I was driving to go see him, I saw one of his signs. Likely
Wow.
that was the sign that got the job, right? What did
Yeah,
it
no
cost? A
kidding.
little chloroplast sign or nothing, right?
It's presence. And that's what I think is cool about social media is you can have that presence
Yeah,
online and you don't have to be going around putting signs. But I like the all and approach rather than
yeah,
saying, as much as I think if you find something that's working, do more of that.
absolutely.
But
Yeah.
don't discount all these small little actions that add up over time.
Nope, absolutely. I agree with that. Let's do a quick lightning round here. One or two word answers. Favorite landscaping tool?
I'm gonna say the ditch witch. I
Ah,
don't
there
know
we
if that
go.
counts as a tool.
It does count as a tool. Uh, well, I think we've kind of answered this one. Best marketing method.
I'm gonna say social media.
Most overrated social media platform.
Maybe TikTok. I've heard a lot of people get reach on TikTok, but I haven't seen.
I'm with you. I would say TikTok. That would be my first answer. It's great for teenage girls. Um, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Early bird.
Ah, me too, my kind of guy. Okay, coffee or energy drinks?
Definitely coffee. Yeah, forget those energy drinks. You're gonna roast
Okay.
your
I
kidneys
thought you were
doing
going to
that.
say both for a second.
Yeah,
Like, how
mixed
wired is
together.
this guy?
I've been doing those
Most
mushroom coffees. You have those over there?
most important business trait.
Tenacity.
Ooh, I like that one. Can I say perseverance? Is that the same thing?
Well, you're gonna need perseverance, period. But tenacity, I think, is that extra little get after it, even though it's hard.
Well, I like that word. Yeah, you know what? I've always used the word perseverance, but they're not the same. You're right.
You definitely need the perseverance.
Um, biggest contractor pet peeve.
Oh, as in for myself?
I guess the biggest pet peeve that you see in other contractors, not necessarily landscaping contractors, but all
Oh,
contractors.
I've got a good one. The trailer sign, it's a list of 100 words.
Ah,
Pressure washing, roof washing, moss cleanup, driveway,
yeah.
100 words, and the
Fencing,
logos in the corner.
decks.
Like,
Yeah. Okay, that's a good one. Phone calls or text messages?
I like text.
Me too. I'm with you there. Most underrated marketing tactic.
I gotta think it's some of that guerrilla stuff or giveaways, local stuff that really impacts people where you live.
I agree with that. This is the last one. Best advice you ever received.
Hmm. That's probably from my high school music teacher. And he said, if nothing else, be a lifelong learner.
Mm,
And that curiosity and inspiration that comes with that awareness in that frame, I think is huge.
yeah, I'd agree. I was so I was actually just saying something this to someone the other day that we've never. I don't know. You have an education background, so you're educated compared to me. I didn't go to school beyond high school. I am completely self-taught, but we've never had a world where it's been easier to teach yourself stuff. Like we
Hmm.
have no excuse for not knowing things today, right? I mean, not saying you can become a civil engineer by using ChatGPT,
Right.
but you can learn a lot watching YouTube videos or even, dare I say it, TikTok, maybe. I don't know, right?
Or even a podcast on Spotify.
That's a good one. I highly recommend. And by the way, not just to plug my podcast, which thank you to all my listeners who are listening to this. We appreciate you being here. I can't forget to say that. Um, I was actually inspired to do this because some of the best information I got when I was a contractor was from podcasts. Um,
Hmm.
there's quite a few good ones out there. There's quite a few bad ones. I had to surf through some pretty dull ones to find some good ones, and we're trying to put on a good one here. So that's a good one. Matt, thanks so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. This has been a great chat. Um, I
It's
think
been
we've
great fun, John. Yeah, thanks for having me on.
think we've educated I think we've educated our audience a little bit. We've had some fun today and I've learned some things, you've learned some things, and it's not every day I almost said something political. Talk to someone from the West Coast. You know what they call it? It's the left coast, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, um, no, I love it. I was in Oregon once, years and years and years ago. I won't tell the story of why I was there, but I flew there for a weekend, and it was a very expensive weekend, and it rained the entire time.
Yeah, that'll
I
happen.
I drove from I have friends in Salem, and I stayed with them, and we drove up to Vancouver. British Columbia for the weekend and back. And I don't think I saw the sun more than for about 10 minutes on Saturday morning. It was Thanksgiving weekend, Canadian Thanksgiving weekend in
Yep, yep.
October. And I flew in the rain. I flew out in the rain. Um, I love the scenery. I love the country. It was the only time I was ever there. And what I remember most about it was there was a mix up with my travel agent, and I got to Detroit Metro when I was flying out, and the ticket agent said, "You're a day late." And I said, "No, I'm not." And it was like Wednesday, October the 8th, right? But October the 8th was actually a Tuesday, and I thought it
Oh,
was a Wednesday, and I was actually there on the 9th. And
oh
so
my God.
she came back and she goes, I can get your ticket moved to today. How much is it going to be?" And I can't remember, but this was like, I'm talking, well, I was married in 99 and this was 3 or 4 years before that. And I think it was $1,200.
Oh,
And,
wow.
and I was like, well, I can either miss the whole weekend or I can spend an extra 1,200 and do it. And like, I did not have enough. I had just enough room in my credit card. I think I'm probably still paying for that trip all
Yeah,
these
yeah.
years
With
later.
interest,
So
you're still there.
so anyway, yeah, no, I enjoyed it and I had a good time out there. I just wish the weather had been a little better, but when you go
Yeah,
places,
it's a diverse, beautiful state. We've got high desert, we've got nearly rainforest. Yeah,
yeah,
it's crazy. And most of our rain comes in like a 3 to 4 month period
yeah,
for
it
our whole annual rainfall.
must be a terrible thing to have to deal with in landscaping business when that
It can
happens.
get quite wet, but a lot of times it's that real light drizzling rain and we still work in it.
So
You get
years
used to
ago,
it
years ago, a
eventually.
friend from Vancouver, he referred to it as a dry rain.
Yeah, yeah.
Dry
Well,
rain.
you know it's the dry rain when you just wear your hoodie
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it doesn't quite soak through.
yeah. No, it's just
Because a
just
lot of
it's just
people do that.
wet.
You're just wet and
Yeah.
but yeah, there's like a whole thing about not wearing raincoats out here. I never understood it.
Well, I just had relatives do a loop through the US. So they went down to the Grand Canyon and back up through California. They went over to Monterey and then up the Pacific Coast Highway
Oh yeah,
and,
that's
and up
gorgeous.
through Oregon. And I said, what was the best part of the trip? And they said Northern California, Southern Oregon.
Yeah.
That was their favorite part of the trip. Of all the places I mean, they were at Mount
Get the
Rushmore.
redwoods and all that, man. Yeah, it's gorgeous.
They loved the redwoods were kind of the highlight, right?
Yep.
So yeah, I'd love to do it. I'd love to do it. And I'm gonna travel a little bit more in the future, I hope. So that'll be one of my bucket list places. The Oregon coast, apparently there's nothing like it. So
Yeah, it's really unique.
yeah, good. Well, this has been great, Matt. I appreciate it very much. And until next time, thank you to our audience for listening. Thanks for Matt for helping us out today and hopefully helping educate our audience. And yeah, we will talk to you on the next episode.